I have the privilege. This is our third date night, so thank you all for coming. First time we do it on a Monday, so if for whatever reason Monday like incredibly works for your schedule and that was the only reason you're able to come, please give me that feedback. Um, Taco Tuesdays. I love it. Well, if tacos are at your house, well then we can't. You're not coming. So I just want to introduce our speakers, our presentation. They're going to speak also. If you did miss the first and second one, this is the third of a three-part. We did record the first two. If tonight like really speaks to you and you want to catch up, the first and second one are online. You can catch up, and we do have the handouts from the first and second one, so that may be helpful for you. Dr. Kristin and Dr. Andy Plauche are our presenters. Beautiful couple, two children. I don't want to steal their thunder. They're very successful veterinarians that practice here in Lafayette that they managed and grew. And they're not going to say this, but they go across the country and just kind of lead other businesses to success. And they have translated that success certainly from their success in their own marriage. So they're just here to share and witness their own marriage and some of the things they've learned and hopefully share them with you. So thank you for being with us.
Well done. You didn't steal a whole bunch of thunder, but thank you, Paula. So, yeah, I'm Andy Plauche, and this is my beautiful wife, Kristin, and I'm going to kind of let her take it from here.
All right. Well, we'd like to always begin with a prayer, so let's start with that. Dear Lord, we thank you for calling us here tonight. We thank you for this gathering, and we thank you for all the people who have taken time to work on such a beautiful vocation, such as marriage. I think that's why we're all here tonight, because we know we can always make our marriages stronger and more reflective of your love for us. So Andy and I are asking the Holy Spirit to be with us tonight so that we can say the things that you need to hear, to give you the tools to maybe help you to put God first a little bit more than we tend to do in today's busy world. So I hope you find it useful. And we praise you, Lord, and we thank you. And we ask all this in your name. Amen. Want me to do the introduction? Okay. So a little bit more about us. Father Michael gave you a little bit of a tidbit on that. Like he said, we're both veterinarians. We practiced in the Lafayette, New Iberia area for about 30 years. And sold our practices in 2019 before COVID, thank goodness, because it sounds like that was a really rough go for every company in the world. Since then, we retired for a little while and then decided we had more to offer and went back to work doing coaching and consulting for other veterinary practices. We are from this area. I grew up in Lafayette. Andy grew up in central Louisiana, but we moved here right after we got married and have been parishioners here at Sacred Heart for 33-ish years. Our kids grew up in this area. They went to St. Cecilia and then on to STM, but now they're out of the house, so we're empty nesters. No grandkids yet, but hopefully that'll happen soon. And that's pretty much us.
She said central Louisiana. It's in central Louisiana. It's a little town called Plocheville. Right, Paula? Paula's my cousin.
One person knows where that is, only because she's related.
So the objectives tonight is, first off, to focus on your date, right? That's why you're here. What a great opportunity to just take some time away from all the hectic stuff going on and just reconnect. The second objective here is to get clarity on the first two questions. How many of y'all have been to all the last two? I know. So y'all going to get bored for a little bit, or maybe not. Could be a little refresher. I think it's important to just kind of go back and just get some clarity on the first two things to make sure everybody is on the same page, and you might get some information from that. And then the last part, the last objective that we have is to answer the third question. That is going to bring everything together. And I think you're going to really see how it all gels. And you're going to think about it, and you're going to be like, is that simple? And it is. It's that simple. So we talk about running your family like a business, and it is. Your family is an organization. It's a unit. And when we talk about organizations, if there's no structure and no way to create clarity and vision and organization within that unit, things just kind of get a little bit hectic. So we want to be able to run our family as an organization, because a lot of times when you get to making decisions, if your kids want to play lacrosse or travel baseball, whatever, you just kind of wing that decision, right? Because you really don't have a family plan in place as to what do we want our family to look like going forward. So the guy named Patrick Lencioni, who wrote this book, The 3 Questions for a Frantic Family, is a genius in my mind. Patrick is a business guru. He's written about 12 business books, and I followed him my whole career. He tells a fable. It's a super easy book to read. But one of the books he wrote is this one, and it's his least selling book. And he'll admit that, and he doesn't know why, because when we coach these businesses, we run across people that come up to us after and be like, man, this could work in a family. How come people aren't doing this in a family setting? So we teach veterinary hospitals across the country a process called Traction or EOS is the system that we use. We ran our company on it for about 15 years, and it's amazingly powerful, very simple, but not easy to do. And we actually now do Traction with St. Cecilia and Sacred Heart. So when I was talking to Father Michael about how I would love to be able to do this and do it for families, he's like, well, you're signed up to do it in 2 months. You better get your program. So this book, Patrick took something very, very complicated and made it incredibly simple. So there's genius. There's real genius in that. When we graduate veterinary school, there's nothing that you're going to get that's going to, nurse practitioner, you're not going to learn how to run a business. You just don't get that. Getting marriage vows, there's no magic to it that's going to tell you how to be the best parent on earth. So why not look outside of what you currently are doing or know to maybe gain some insight into other things that might be a little bit more helpful. So the first question that we answered a couple of months ago is, who are you as a family? What makes you unique? What are your core values? You already know your core values, but you just haven't, well, the ones that were here probably 2 months ago have, but you haven't given them a name, right? So when you make a decision or you make a choice and it doesn't feel right, why not? Well, it's going against a core value of yours. But until you take the time, and it doesn't take long, 20 to 40 minutes, and you can identify what your family stands for. What separates you from everybody else? What makes you unique? So your core values gives your family clarity, context, and it helps your family, it helps you live with intentionality. So typically, and I don't know if y'all did your core values already, but it's so easy to get like 10 or 15 of these beautiful adjectives that describe who you want to be, but they're not describing who you are. So when you really get down to your core values, it's usually just 3 to 5 core values. And there's a couple of traps that you can run into that will really affect identifying your core values. The first one is called permission to play. And this is just those those words that you hear big corporations have, like honesty, integrity, those kind of generic things that they throw out there. There's some values in your family unit that you just have to be a part of this family. Honesty, fidelity, you just got to have that. So it's not really your core value. It's just you're going to have this to be a part of the team. The second one is aspirational. And these are the values that you really want to have because they sound so cool. And I really want that. But you want it, but it's not you. It's not a core value, right? So it's good to keep striving to achieve that trait that you really want to have. But you can't list it as your core value because it's not. It's not your core value. So those are just two traps that you just need to be aware of when you're going through it. And the thing I need you to understand too is that don't let perfection be the enemy of good. When you take a stab at identifying your core values, don't worry about getting it perfect. If you have 25 core values right now, that's good. Probably not all your core values. So, or if you have 2 core values and 2 months from now your wife walks up to you and says, I think this is a core value of ours, add it. You can change it. This is a work in progress. So don't be afraid to take a stab at it. All right. So you've seen these already. This is our Plauche family values. Faith-centered. We value relationships. We do the right thing for the right reason. We really strive for continuous self-improvement, and we always want to make a difference. When you take those core values and create, for lack of a better word, a paragraph, then it can be something that you can it's a family strategy. You can hang your hat on it. This is what we've told y'all is in our very prominent space in our kitchen. We don't usually have it out if we know company's coming over, but if you show up unexpected, you're probably going to see that, and we're okay with that, right? So that's us. That is core values. I'm going to turn this second question over to Kristin, who's much better organized than I am, but she's going to help you do the second question.
Okay, so last month, what we focused on was question number 2, which is what is your top priority? And basically what we challenged you to do in your exercise for homework is to look at the next 2 to 6 months and pick one thing that you said was the most important thing you needed to accomplish. Why do we do that? Because sometimes we're so overwhelmed, we have so much to do, and if you spend your time focusing on all of the things that need to get done, you don't give any one of those things the attention that it deserves, and then nothing happens. So 6 months down the road, you're like, oh, I'm still working on all these things, but you're not making progress. So the purpose of this is to give you some clarity so that you're a united front on what you want to accomplish, and then you can make a plan on how to get there. So the rules for answering this question is that you can only pick one thing. The time frame is important because if it's less than 2 months, you probably could get that done next week if you didn't procrastinate. If it's more than 6 months, then odds are it's a big, big thing, and you're going to set yourself up for disappointment if you're overwhelmed by it or intimidated by it. You don't want to tackle it, and that's when we see people start to procrastinate because like, oh, I'm going to have to put that off. I just can't deal with that right now. So 2 to 6 months seems to be the optimal time frame. If you struggled picking one of the things, what we recommended is doing is say, okay, if I just sat back and said, if we did this by Christmas of this year, it would be a great year. We would finish strong. We'd be better as a family. That's what you want to look at. It's like, what's the one thing that could make us be in a better place, be less chaotic, be less crazy? So to make it happen, once you pick your statement, the problem with that is that it's a dream at that point. And if you don't choose some specific action steps to make it happen, it's likely to stay a dream. You're like, okay, yeah, we're going to work on that. We're going to work on that. But there's 2 steps involved in this, and the first one is to choose your defining objectives, and that's simply what it sounds like. They define the steps that are necessary to help you achieve your one big goal. So you usually have about 5 of these. You're going to put them on your family plan right under the objective, your rallying cry, and they're going to be the 5 steps that you know if you do those 5 things, you're going to achieve that big goal, okay? The second part to it is called standard objectives. So what we also know is that when you're working toward one big goal, if you have something to focus on, say it's a family member who's got a health issue that you need to focus on, or a major remodel in your house, those things need to happen, but at the same time, the bills need to get paid, the kids need to pass school, you need to keep your house up. There's a lot of day-to-day activities that need to happen to keep your family functioning and healthy. So in order to not forget about those, we like to have you list those on your family plan. Usually there's 6 to 10 of those things that are just the day-to-day responsibilities that you don't want to neglect as you proceed to work towards your one big goal. And those are called the standard objectives. So this is a sample of what a family plan might look like. At the top, you would have your core values. Second, you would have your rallying cry with your defining objectives below, which are the action steps to get you there. And then the bottom line is your standard objectives, the things that you don't want to neglect as you focus on that one big goal. That changes from, time to time. All right, back to you.
So that was a good review. The first 2 questions. So the third question that we need to answer and get you wrapping your heads around this is, you've created a really, you've done the homework. You've beautiful core values, like you're so proud of them. You want to tell everybody what they are. And then your rallying cry is something that's just so important that you are so focused on it, and you're going to make it happen. So you create a little folder that you're going to put your rallying cry and your core values in here, and then you're going to look at it, and you're going to put this folder on a bookshelf, and it's going to start collecting dust, and you may look at it a couple of years from now and be like, wow, you remember we almost did it, right? So how do you make it happen? And early on, I said you're going to run your family like a business, right? Well, you're going to have a meeting. And you can call it whatever you want, family meeting, family huddle, but you have to do something that's going to keep this work that you've done front and center. And that is the family meeting. And there's just a few rules to it. So how do you make it happen? Okay, yes. So, is once a month frequent enough to do a family meeting? It's probably a little too long, right? Daily? That's kind of weird. But maybe weekly. Maybe we can do this weekly. And that seems to be about the right time frame to be able to reconnect once a week with your spouse and your family. So you got to pick a day, though. This is not a random meeting. This is a scheduled sort of meeting. So pick a convenient time and a convenient day of the week to do it. We do ours at 8:45 on Sunday night. It just seems to be the time that we're kind of settling down and doing it. So, but whatever's convenient for you, if it's 4:30 on Monday morning, it's 4:30 on Monday morning. Okay? Pick a day, pick a time, and just stick with that. The meeting is not longer than 10 minutes. In your handouts, it's going to say 15 to 20 minutes. 10 minutes is 95% of your meetings. If it's longer than 10, then that means you're probably discussing some stuff that's happening with your rallying cry. You're not on track with something, and you need to discuss it. But 10 minutes, because if it's longer than 10 minutes and you haven't held the meeting yet, you're going to be like, I don't want to do it because it's going to be an hour-long meeting, right? 10 minutes. Make it convenient. And then you're going to need to create some sort of grading scale, whatever is going to appeal to you. And we're going to show you a few different grading mechanisms to make sure you're on track and to know if you're off track on your things. So the format is this. You're going to want to review your core values. It's an amazing time, if you have little kids, or even just us, to look at your core values and say, how did we do this week? You give stories, events, things that happen that show you're living your core values. And if you have kids, what a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, did something happen this week that showed a core value? Or even better than that, you tell them something that they did that demonstrates a family core value. Hey, this is us, and you lived that. You did that. This is amazing. Over time, you're going to see an increased interest, and you're creating a legacy. This is who we are as a family. You're part of this family, and this is how we live. This is how we do. You want to review your rallying cry. You want to evaluate the status of the defining objectives, those steps that you have to get done to accomplish that big thing that's going to move the needle in your family. And then you evaluate the status of your standard objectives, and these are all the day-to-day things that you have to take care of in your family, that if you neglect these, things tend not to go so well. So an example.
Okay, so disclaimer, our real whiteboard in our kitchen is not this big. Don't be intimidated by that. We wanted to try to make it big enough that you could see.
So, yes, I need the mic, so I'm recording. Okay, so this is, can everybody see this? You don't have to read the words, just the format. So, Plauche family plan, our family values are first, and typically what we'll do is I'll ask her, say, how do we do this week on our family values? And we actually, on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a grade. Anything above 5 is passing, but not good. 8 or better, we're crushing it. 5 and below, we got to work on some stuff, right? So if we do faith-centered, say, how do we do in our faith this year? Then we give it this week. Probably did an 8. We did, just thinking about our week, we did pretty good with relationships. So that's probably a 9. Right thing for the right reason. We crushed that one. Continuous self-improvement, probably a 7. And then make a difference. I think we did that pretty well with a certain practice that we're working with. So we just do that. And you hash it out with it's just us. We don't have the kids at home anymore. But if you have your kids and you can think of a story that you saw them do, and grandkids, nieces, nephews, anybody, you can show them what living a core value looks like. That takes 45 seconds. Or if you tell them a story, it depends. Then the next thing you look at is your rallying cry. What is the one thing that we need to focus on in the next couple of months to 6 months that is going to move the needle in our family? Either make us better, take care of a problem, whatever it is. If it's financial, we need to get our finances in order. Whatever it is, it's going to happen in the next 2 to 6 months. That's here. When we look at our defining objectives here, the grading scale's tough, so pay attention. If you're doing well, if you're on track or completed, you just put a green check mark. We're good there, right? So I think these are done. we are probably on track with our landscape. You can't see this one, but that would be yellow. If anything falls off the wagon and you're off track, it's red. And all that is just a quick visual. This is used in thousands of billion-dollar corporations, y'all. It's a gut feeling. You don't have to get all scientific. Green, we're good. Red, we're not. Yellow, just got to watch it. But anything red, you got to pay attention to. It's that simple. Then you jump down here. That takes 30 seconds to do, right? But if something's off track, if you get a red, maybe we got to talk about something, especially if it's like finances or whatever your rallying cry is. Just depends on what it is to determine how much you need to talk about it. Then you never want to forget these guys. These are the day-to-day stuff that you have to make sure is staying okay. And it's the same thing with these. Green, we're good. We had enough family time this week. Red, we didn't do so well. And why? What happened? So just go through these and grade it. And that's it. That's the family huddle. And you do this, you can invite your kids or not. You are the CEOs of your family, so it can be just y'all. But if your kids are old enough and you think they might be interested or benefit from this, it's a good thing to have them there, for sure. All right? So that's it. That's the format for the meeting. Kristin said this does not stay in our kitchen. We've got a little bitty thing. But you could get a big one if it floats your boat. All right? And this is all due in end of the year. So by the end of the year, this will happen. Once this is done, or if we finish it soon enough, we'll pick something else that we need to focus on as a family. This never changes. At least for us it doesn't, because we've been having those for 18 years. But if yours is just a month old or two, it might change, right? Okay.
And to add to that, I think a great example of this that just came into my mind while you were going through it that might be relatable to a lot of people. Andy and I have parents that all had long-term illness, I guess, and chronic terminal illness. So when you put that in that box, your whole life changes. And you can only imagine what happens down here. You know, you're juggling doctor's appointments, spending nights with your parents away from home and your family. It turns your household into turmoil. And hopefully you'll never have to go through that. But if you do, it's an extreme example of where using a system like this can keep you in communication with each other, keep you able to rally together to survive those moments, because they're challenging. And if you haven't had those moments in your marriage yet, you will have something like that. And, we had that with 3 of our parents, and focusing on all of these things became a huge challenge and a time crunch. So it was very beneficial, even though we didn't use it this way. I look back now and I can see where we would talk about these things and say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to juggle all these things and make it work under these circumstances. So hopefully you can put something fun and exciting up in the top, but it's not just for that. It may be for a challenge that you're facing. And when you focus on that, you have to make an action plan to make it the best it can be and not forget about the other important things that come along the way.
Yeah, it's very well said. And just think about when do you talk about these kinds of things just in passing? It's like, and then you end up getting upset or whatever, and you don't know why they're mad, and
Usually it's because you say, well, I thought you were going to do that. And you say, no, I thought you were going to do that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that at some points in our life, in our marriage, for sure.
What? All right. So
I have it.
when I say simple, I don't think it can get any more simple than that, right? But I want you to talk to the power behind this.
Yeah, It is simple. It looks very basic, and I felt like looking at our 3 presentations all on paper, I was like, how are they going to even buy into this? Because it looks way too simple to make an impact. But what I can tell you is if you make it complicated, nobody has time to do it. So putting it into this framework, which is Patrick Lencioni, I mean, that's what he did. It does seem very simple, but being consistent, doing the process the way he describes it, is very impactful. And the little bit that you do is going to have a tenfold result. And I can witness to that for, our own lives. Our business was growing very rapidly. We were losing control. We went from probably 15 employees to 80 employees in a year. And within 2 years, we were over 100 employees. Neither one of us had any business training. We knew how to cure pets, but we didn't know how to treat people. So we had a crash course to make it happen. And we stumbled across this system, and it really brought joy back to our life. We had time. We had more energy. We had a better workplace. We had a better everything. And so seeing what it can do for a family, it doesn't take long, but the time invested you make is going to pay off tenfold. I can promise you that. Yep.
More than 10.
Yeah, so homework tonight, basically, if you were at the first 2 sessions, then you probably have a paper, family plan, something like this, or hopefully you do. They're in the notes. There's a blank in the notes, what have you. But essentially what your homework for tonight would be to go ahead and take the next step and have your first meeting. Review your core values, talk about ways you've lived them for the past week or so. Look at your rallying cry. What's your most important thing you want to accomplish over the next 2 to 6 months? And then grade yourself on how you're doing. And everybody does it different. Andy loves to give like really big grades. Like all of these things aren't checks and minuses at our house. Like this would be 30% or 100%. He likes to put a number on things. So you can tweak this to however you want. You can call it whatever you want, but as long as you stick to the process, you're going to get the results. So we would encourage you to have your first family meeting. If you haven't come to the previous sessions, they're handing out some notes. We do have notes from the first 2 if you need them. And you can do it all in one night. It doesn't take a long time. That's the beauty of it. The core values exercise takes probably 15 to 30 minutes. The second part, the discovering your rallying cry, takes about 10 to 15 minutes at most. And defining objectives and standard objectives fit right along in there. So you could theoretically do it all in one night because you're not looking for perfection. Like you said, don't let making it perfect keep you from doing a good job and using it right away. So we would encourage you to take what you've learned, go out and have your first meeting, and hopefully start benefiting from the success from it. Do we have any questions about any of the content? Yes. Absolutely. Can I give you the microphone so everybody can hear?
Yeah, I had a meeting with the wife and kids and the mission statement. We had the meeting like in the round with everybody present, and I came up with 7. I guess the personality traits, more like a human resource family thing. Number 1, accept each other as we are. Your personality, you need to do that because we have some problems sometimes is why faith does this, but we got to accept each other as we are. Number 2, better communication, mental, physical, and spiritual. Number 3, help each other when someone is lonely and struggling. Yeah, my wife and I can find out when one of the kids they feel like an outcast or there's something wrong. You can feel that they feel lonely. So, number 4, keep up the compromising of the television viewing. Yeah, we had made a little board on what we could watch on certain nights. Number 5, each family member having time alone with God. We do take them to adoration and being alone, like Evan and my, all 3 kids, they usually go for like a walk, either with my wife or alone. They can vent things out. Number 6, be more attentive to each other. Listen. And according to Linda, I don't listen to her. Yeah, exactly. And the big one, I think Evan had said that, or whatever, accountability. So that's what God of coming to these meetings, and I just want to share that with everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and the last one you said is probably key. I think accountability, if I had to sum up what this process for a business or even a family, it's accountability. You can have all the best ideas in the world, but if you don't hold yourselves and others accountable, nothing happens.
So I look at this, and I look at the family meeting, and I think of the power that your children get when they feel they're being heard. You know, because you run through your week, and I assume you know this about me, and I assume you know that, but when you stop and give them the power to be heard, you know, for 10 minutes at 8:45 on a Sunday, I mean, that's powerful. And where they'll bring that.
Anybody else have any comments from Padre?
I know I want to respect the time, but as I was listening, I'm thinking, gosh, maybe some of these people thinking, I thought this is a church. I thought this is supposed to be like a spiritual thing. We haven't referenced God. We haven't we haven't quoted a saint, or we haven't talked about the doctors of the church or something. This is so business. Well, I have also heard a lot of couples say, I feel like we're just roommates. I feel like we just kind of come in and out of our life, and I just don't know where we went wrong. I don't know what happened. She's doing her thing. She's over at the church. She's always at the church. She's doing the thing. And then he's always at work. He's always playing golf. He's always doing the fishing thing. And like we're on two different wavelengths. Well, like there's a certain amount of that can be prayed through, but there's a certain amount of that that's just practical. It's just, it's very practical of we just don't talk anymore. And when we talk, we don't talk about things that are about us. We talk business. We talk about, well, are you picking up the kids? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Like we're not together, and we're not moving together in a collective whole. Like we don't have shared a mission. And so we feel like we're on two different wavelengths. So this may seem really, gosh, it's just very business practical. It is, but I think it's very important because as I listen to couples who are just going in two different directions and say, we just don't have anything in common anymore. Well, this is just a format of maybe what you have in common is faith. Maybe what you have in common is your mutual interest to grow in relationship with the Lord. Great. Put it as a value so that when you meet together, you are together on common ground, and at least you feel like we are together and we're moving forward. Like it doesn't have to be, this is just a format to help you identify what you share and still share and want to continue to share in common. So it may seem really practical, but it's really important. So I just want to share that.
When you were talking, Father Michael, it made me think about ways that we've used this to have an impact on our spiritual life. And I can tell you that we use this system to evaluate donating to the One Heart campaign. We used it to decide how much time we would devote volunteering at our church parish, in school. All of those things, budgeting, tithing. Nobody wants to talk about tithing, but it's important. And if we didn't have a system in place like this, we probably would just continue to say, oh, yeah, we're putting something in every week. But then all of a sudden you look and it's been 3 years and you're given the same amount you've been given for 3 years. And I'm not here to talk about tithing and try to make you give more money to the church. But for us, this was a way to say, are we doing our best? Are we doing does what we're giving to our church and parish match our core values? So I think it's very faithfully based for us, and it can be for you too. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Any other observations, comments? What is that? In April. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. He's a story in himself, but too long for tonight. He was definitely the rallying cry for the past 3 years. Guys, you get to go spend some time together. I hope. So it's not Taco Tuesday, but
We're going to take that into account next time.
yeah, check your handouts. There's 3 different handouts, week 1, 2, and 3. You need to.
Okay.
And this is the last meeting, Father,
This semester.
for this semester. So
Thank you
Do
all
we-
for being here.
have our contact, and if y'all have any questions, you can call us anytime.
Father Michael knows where to get us. Oh, we have a door prize too.
Oh, and a door prize.
Sign up.
Keith can't leave. See how it goes. All right, door prize.
All right. Pick one.
Just one?
Yep. It's for the
This
book.
one. Tommy and Kellyanne. There we go.
Congratulations.
So you get a
You
copy,
get a copy of the book.
Hey, thank y'all so much for showing up and being
Thank you.
attentive.
I hope you enjoy it.
I hope we didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks again.